Hi everyone who's out there watching this video on my Nurture Your Soul channel. Well, actually it's called the Soul Nurturer, but the intention is to nurture your soul. So I invite you to just take a few moments with me. It's going to be another quick video. Just sit down, take a breath, and allow this time for you to receive some nurturing energy, to perhaps receive something I offer that makes you think about something a little differently, with a little bit more grace and a little bit more willingness. Grace, willingness. These are wonderful allies and necessary for the journey of transformation. So, are you taking a seat and you're going to be with me? I feel like Mr. Rogers, like, come and sit down with me. Put my sweater on. Here we go. For those of you who have joined me on other videos, thank you for returning. Thank you for your comments and for liking and subscribing to this channel. But those of you who've seen me do, I've done 40 videos. I can't believe it. And it's really awesome whenever you start a project to go back to the beginning and see what you were like at the beginning, to see how far you progress. It's really a cool thing to notice, to look at. Because if you're like me, sometimes I'll put off starting something new because I don't like that new phase where it's uncomfortable, we may be awkward, it may be not quite what we had in mind, but we have to keep practicing, right? We practice to progress, and there's no perfection, there's just improvement and progression, right? So, okay, but those of you who have seen other videos, you notice anything different about this one right now, or me right now? Anything different? Okay, here's what's going on. I was about to start the video with a different topic. Different is the word we're going to be focusing in on today. And I was about to take my hair down from my top knot and start the video. And I thought, well, wait a minute. This topic of different and this resistance to different is part of the issue with transformation. We can't have transformation without doing something different, but many times we don't want to do anything different because we don't want to look uncomfortable or awkward. So it's more comfortable for me to take my hair down, and that's comfortable. That's my normal, right? But so I kind of laughed. Well, why are you wanting to take your hair down when you're talking about transformation? Kind of outed myself. Again, we can't have transformation without doing something different. And if we don't do things that are different or get comfortable with different, we're very uncomfortable in uncertainty where everything is different, right? So I thought I would stretch out of my comfort zone, keep my top knot on. Here we are. Makes me about 2 inches taller too. And to bring this point here, we must be willing to do different, to receive something different. So this is just a quick video for you to just take a moment and think about how many things you continue to do the same way over and over again, because that's what you do. But you're desiring transformation. You're wanting something different. So, like me, you may catch something that's completely a blind spot for you. Even though you're saying say you have an intention to be healthier, or your intention is to be more motivated, or the higher, umbrella desire or intention to transform. And you start to catch it through awareness. Wait a minute, I do that this way all the time, the same way. If you can become present, remember the ABCs of transformation that I say: awareness before choice. Become aware. Why am I doing it that way? And is the way I'm doing it in alignment or in integrity with my message and my intention? It's kind of out of integrity for me to say, hey, let's transform together, and I'm doing the same thing because it's more comfortable for me to have my hair down. So I invite you to think about that. There's a classic story I often tell in workshops, and I'm going to try to fit it in here because I want to keep this video under 15 minutes. But it's the story of a woman who makes this regular dinner for her family every Sunday. Sorry for my vegetarians, this is how I learned the story. It's a roast beef she makes, but we can say it's a vegan loaf, okay? But the original story was roast beef. So her husband's in the kitchen with her, watching her prepare the Sunday meal, and she takes the roast beef out and she cuts a ½ inch off on one side and ½ inch off the other side and puts it in the pan. And he's really curious, and he's like, so why do you do that? Why do you do that every time you make roast beef? And she said, well, this is the way you do roast beef. It's the way my mom did it, the way my grandmother did it. Everyone knows, it's just the way you do it. So he was really curious. She didn't really know why she did it. She just knew that was the way, right? So then the next Sunday, her mom comes to dinner and she's in the kitchen helping prepare roast beef. And sure enough, she does the same thing. ½ inch off one side, ½ inch off the other side, in the pan it goes. And so he asks her, well, okay, so you taught this to your daughter, and now she's teaching our daughter. Why do you trim off some of the meat? Oh, this is just the way you do it. My mom taught me to do this. I suppose it has something to do with making the meat more moist. It's traditional. It's the way it's done. Huh. Okay, still curious. He's still, something feels off. And then grandmother comes the following week, and he's finally going to get to the source. Why is it this is the way it's done? And no one in this family does it any way different. It's the way it's done. So he asks her, and grandmother simply says, I don't know what you're talking about. My pan is very small. I always have to trim the meat to make it fit. So grandmother had an original need being met by this trimming of the meat. But she taught, as parents do. Parents don't teach with their words, they teach with their actions. What they do is what those watching will do. So her daughter did it, and then her daughter taught her daughter. Without anyone that, I call these the hand-me-down patterns or the hand-me-down beliefs, without anyone stopping to say, why do we do it this way? What purpose? And can I do it differently? Is there something I can do differently? And more importantly, the question to ask when you are on a healing and transformational journey is to set intention for your transformation. You know, some people have the intention, I just want to fulfill my purpose. I want to bring my gifts. I want to be the healthiest version of me. You know, whatever yours is, just think about that as sort of the mission for your transformation, what you're going for. So is the thing you're doing in alignment with that? Or are you just stuck there because you don't want to do it differently? Well, if you don't do the thing differently, that's not in alignment with transforming, you're never going to transform. Okay? I hope this makes sense. It made sense in my mind anyway. So again, the invitation is to start noticing with that really gentle, compassionate curiosity, wonder why I do it this way. Even stronger with transformation, what is the belief I'm thinking? What am I telling myself about this situation or myself? And is that connected to my conditioned self or what I learned from my family of origin? And does it support me in becoming who I am choosing to become and experience what I choose to experience? And then you can catch, the belief. And here's one thing I thought I wanted to talk about before I got into the different path. This is how I explain beliefs. Our beliefs that we have, usually the negative core beliefs is what we look at for transformation. If you've got empowered beliefs, awesome, hold on to those. But our negative beliefs are generated when a need was not met when we were kids. That's usually how they originate. A need isn't met, so I create a belief around that. And then I create a pattern out of the belief that is in a roundabout way trying to get the need met. But we tend to self-sabotage or unconsciously create a pattern that makes the original belief that we chose reinforced. It's a loop that keeps us stuck, okay? So the way to change that loop and change your beliefs in a more sustainable, more sustainably, is to ask, what do I need? So say, okay, I give the classic example all the time. Say a baby is crying and no one responds. Again, when I teach beliefs, I always say we give grace to parents. They do the best they can with the programming and conditioned information they have. But so the baby's crying, no one's coming. The felt sense is, I don't matter. I don't matter. So that person grows up and they have an I don't matter belief. Okay. So the pattern is set up there. An unconscious pattern may look like with I don't matter, not asking for a need being met, or I'm trying to find an example, like sort of setting themselves, here, okay, so say like I don't matter, so they don't reach out to their friends and nobody reaches out to them. So it reinforces I don't matter. See, then they're stuck there. Now they become aware. I have a need for connection. That's like the baby. I need for my mom to come and be with me and take care of me. I have a need for connection. But I believe I don't matter, so I'm going to keep setting that up. I don't matter, so I don't have connection. Must be true. So I have a need for connection. Let me change that belief and I always say, try it on like a new set of clothes, that I matter clothing. How does it feel to know and feel that you matter? And to be willing to feel that differently. We're so connected and familiar with our negative core beliefs that it's really hard to shed them, right? So we need to try on something different. And then that becomes the place we create a new pattern from. So I'm feeling into I matter. What action or what pattern do I create that's aligned with I matter? And it's going to be different. It's going to be different. And so, I feel like I matter. So I'm going to call someone because I need connection, and I'm going to talk to them and invite them to have conversation with me because I know I matter and I'm meeting that need of connection myself. So the healing this is the profound healing that I talk about a lot with my clients. That need is met within you first. When we're adults, when we're kids, we do rely on our parents and family members to help us meet those needs. But when we're adults, that's where we say, okay, I have a need. I'm capable of fulfilling that need. And you all are. And for those of you who feel like you aren't, you're fulfilling that need somewhere else with your friends and family right now, I guarantee you. Okay? So meet the need of I matter, and then take action from there. It's simple as that. And be willing and especially conscious of doing it differently. You can keep doing it the old way and end up in the old territory, the familiar territory of the negative core beliefs and the associated patterns that connect you to disappointment, to frustration, to maybe even feeling like the victim because you're doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result, right? So be willing to do it differently and just be curious and expand that. What else would be different? What else could I do that's different? One last little tip, and then I'm going to go. And that is, if you cannot find those associations or references on your own, think about somebody who embodies the quality that you need to fulfill your purpose or your goal or your mission. So using this example of I matter, who do you know, either personally or a public figure or someone in a movie or a character in a book, that embodies the energy of I matter? And then I call it gleaning. You glean from them. What do they do? You get really curious. You know how we can sort of feel like we understand and know things without really knowing the person? I think that's soul. It's, it could be projection, but it also could be our soul wisdom trying to guide us. So what do they do? And then you just expand that with your imagination. So, and now what will it look like for me to do that? Okay. And then you practice it over and over again. And you do it differently, and it's awkward and it may be uncomfortable. It's always uncomfortable to step out of our comfort zones, but we do it over and over again until it becomes a familiar experience. And our subconscious mind has collected enough references and associations for us to do that more often. Okay, so that's my little spontaneous talk about doing it differently. I still want to take my hair down, but I'm not, because I'm going to be uncomfortable and different and allow that. And again, that's another real important piece. The more you get comfortable being uncomfortable and comfortable with different, the more you can invite in transformation, individually and collectively. There's so much going on right now where people are just fighting for what they know, and they want it to be the same because that's where they're comfortable. Hey, what if we all agreed to do things differently and vision for something higher and greater? And I'll tell you what, in December, we're getting some shifts with Saturn going into Aquarius and Jupiter going into Aquarius. It will be the time to gather what we learned during these last few years, in particular 2020. Did you learn anything? Was it hard for you? Well, the hardness and the challenges were meant to cultivate new awareness and willingness to do it differently. We sort of were forced into doing it differently, right? Well, if you believe that we have a benevolent God, creator, universe, however you connect, then maybe this was all purposeful. And maybe it was trying to push us towards being more innovative and thinking outside of that limited thinking into expanded possibilities. Okay, so that's all I have. And I hope this was helpful for you. And I hope that it touched something in your heart and gave you a little bit of a sense of willingness to be awkward and doing different, and be gentle with yourself and receive grace for yourself as you do different until you move towards that new way of being. Thank you for sharing some time with me out of your precious life. I really appreciate it. And I really, really do appreciate your comments. So do let me know what this video had to offer you, what you took away, how it helped, and any suggestions for future videos. Okay, take good care of you. Love yourself forward, nurture your soul, and take good care, as Mary Oliver said in her beautiful poem, of your one precious life.